Ivor Cummins, Part 3, Iron Deficiency. Doctor's review of your blood work may not detect that you have it.
There have been studies done that show that at some point in a woman's life, there's over a 50% chance that she's going to have this. And sometimes it's due to menstruation, sometimes it's due to just growth in childhood and adolescence. And so many kids go by the wayside, and behavioral problems can happen, cognitive problems can happen, and all of that can even with birth, which, preeclampsia and high birth weight and low birth, all the things are related to that. But if there's low iron in childhood, it can go all the way to adolescence. Anything that isn't meat can hinder absorption. There are so many things that can hinder absorption. Even coffee drinking, tea drinking. And I was drinking a lot of tea there, so it got to be a problem. And so what I wasn't doing on carnivore keto is eating organ meat. And I think that's part of where I went wrong, particularly liver. It is the best source there is of both vitamin A and vitamin B2. When I look at people's labs, and that's what I do now, because reference ranges generally just tell you what's common. It doesn't tell you what's normal or what you want to have. It tells you what's common.
But generally low iron will indicate that in ferritin. Ferritin is probably, it's fallible, but it's a reasonable good guide. Like my wife was 9, I think, and you were maybe at 20 at one stage. It's very low end. If it's very low end, you got to check all the other measures and check your symptoms and get a proper test. It's a flag, really, isn't it? The ferritin being low.
That's the thing is, if it's low, it's low. Nothing's going to mask that. If it's high, that's where it gets complicated. And of course, the reference ranges can go anywhere from 12 to 300. It's ridiculous. You have to do it by symptoms and by diet, and by what else is going, confounding variables of just what's going on with health. So for everybody walking around out there with anemia, there are 2, 3, 4, 5 people walking around who will never, ever have anemia, but will be iron deficient. And they will have worse symptoms and more varied symptoms than people with anemia. That's the kind of confusing part of this. And so, and the longer it goes on, because it's not going to be diagnosed, it's going to get worse.
And chronic implications then, though you had them from a relatively young age and they just worsened and worsened, other people may have the problem and it's only in their 40s it begins to really impact them. And then sadly, they could spend the next 10 or 20 years descending into a kind of a hell of any or all of these symptoms you described. And basically the medical system almost certainly will not be able to help them at all.
Lisa says, studies have shown that at some point in a woman's life, 50% have a chance of having iron deficiency. It could be due to menstruation or growth in childhood and in adolescence. It can cause behavioral and cognitive issues. Iron absorption can be a challenge. Many things can hinder it, including coffee and tea. Some things can enhance it, including liver, which is a great source of vitamin A and B2. Blood work, or labs, reports don't tell you what is normal, they tell you what is common. Ferritin, in blood work, is a reasonably good guide. When it's low, it is a flag to get further testing done. When ferritin is low, it is trustworthy. Nothing can mask it. When it is high, it can be complicated. You must also check symptoms, diet, and other health issues. Generally, doctors focus on anemia when checking iron levels. Lisa says, for everyone with anemia, there are many others who won't ever have it, but are iron deficient, will have worse and varied symptoms. The longer it goes on, the worse it gets. For undiagnosed iron deficiency, Ivor says, you had chronic implications from a young age, but others may not get them until later. Then they could spend the next 10 or more years descending into a hell of all those symptoms. And the medical community won't be able to help them at all.